Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with our final episode of the year of Weighing In. We're brought to you by the good folks at Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike gear, Resolite.com, best mats in the game, and Pure and Clean Sports, best mat cleaner and skin products in the game. Little jealous of my friend. Glad he's back on the show, but spent over a week in the fatherland. My guy, Grant Turner, back from Japan. Merry Christmas in person. Happy early New Year in person, GT. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, glad to be back in the good old US of A. Had some work stuff going around. So, just very happy to be back home. Got a chance to spend some time with the family. Glad to be back.
Are you caught up on your sleep?
I think last night was probably the first night that I felt like completely and utterly back to kind of a normal sleep schedule. This one kind of affected me a little bit more. I don't know why, but it took me like 3 or 4 days I was just running hard. So once again, you get around like your kind of family and your schedule is kind of a little bit like eat, nap. Like it didn't help my my scheduling, because it was just like, oh, well, let's just go have a little bit of some of the casseroles and all that kind of stuff. So it was great.
That's good. All right. Well, we're at the end of the year. It's kind of a slow week. I think the most interesting thing to talk about to me is Midlands this week, previewing Scuffle, previewing Soldier Salute. And then Mark and I talked about this, but I'm interested on your take on it, on the number of freshmen that are just killing it this year and how many freshmen potentially we could see in the national finals. So we'll probably go through Mad Kings and look at the rankings and look at that stuff, because I don't think the rankings can't have changed this week because they don't have any results. And this was if Mark and I were on the air, was with us, this was our favorite ranking week of the year. There's nothing to do. You just push send and keep it moving. So we'll pull this up. Let me get this where people who are watching can see this on screen. So these are the Midlands results through the end of yesterday. And so we're recording this at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. So I think the Midlands semis are probably starting shortly. So not a lot of out-of-pocket. Holman over Brzezowski, Chappell over Navarro. That's kind of an interesting win. Christian Castillo over Vinny Kilcarry is it's good for the future of Iowa State at 125. He'd had some concussion problems. He's a super talented kid, age group world medalist. He's the one that hit that flying squirtle a couple of years ago with the full-on mullet. So people kind of know about that moment. It kind of went viral. And then Blake West continuing to wrestle like a ranked wrestler. But 33 is where it starts to get interesting. Ortega, who's the kid at Iowa State. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's 27 years old. He's the one suing the NCAA over eligibility, GT. And he just beat Matty Lopes, who was 9-0 on the year. Really good freshman from Blair, who's wrestling unattached to Lehigh, but, may come out depending on their health situation at 33 with Crookham. And then the other match, which is absolutely massive here, is Aaron Seidel from Virginia Tech. Teched Dylan Shaver 17-0. And that to me was him winning was pretty shocking, but 17, you call it 17 rip. That's pretty substantial. And they have Dylan Campbell, who's a freshman, who's ranked in the top 10 in the country. He's ranked 9th, 10th, or 9th. I mean, they got some good problems cooking down there at Virginia Tech, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know if people kind of realize how much of a powerhouse Virginia Tech is, kind of slowly in kind of over time has just continued to get better recruits, had great results. So I think this is kind of a preview of what Virginia Tech is going to look a lot more like in the next couple of years, as they have young kids knocking off really, really talented, proven, Big Ten guys. because Dylan Chauver's beat some good dudes in his career. So for someone like Aaron Seidel to basically just not surrender a single point, that's a pretty legit offering.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was looking at their team. They got Dylan Campbell, and this year they got Ventresca at 25, who's a senior. Campbell's a freshman. And then at 41, they have Crook, who's a senior. And then at 49, we're going to get there, but they're about to plug in Ethan Miller, I think. Or maybe Colin Guy, who's a freshman as well. I don't know. And then Bassett's coming in next year.
Well, and they also are redshirting Caleb Henson.
Yeah. So they're going to have to stack everybody, right? Like, I mean, they have good problems because they got a lot of guys between like sort of 33 and 49 that are super, I think everybody knows Caleb Henson probably would be the guy favored to win it coming back. Certainly, at worst, will be ranked second in the preseason. I mean, everybody, if Jackson Joy can have the year he's having, then everybody thinks Bo Bassett, will be right on that level. And that's probably a fair assessment. If Caleb Henson goes to 57, which I don't think he will do, but if he did, it would open up a spot for Bassett at 49, and then you have Seidel and Dylan Campbell could go some combination of 33, 41. But anyway, this is a massive result, for a kid that's not even burning eligibility this year. And I think if you're a high school guy, people go, well, Seidel wrestled Jax Forrest really tough in the state finals. And sometimes losses don't teach us anything, GT, but sometimes they do. And I think that's one where it did. This Ortega thing's also really interesting, right? Like the eligibility situation, part of that Cuban connection that Villascusa has helped set up over there. Obviously, these guys have had a lot of success with Echemendia and Bastida. So, and Iowa State, as good as they are this year, graduates a lot. Like they graduate a lot of guys. Like we were talking about some weights next year where some guys will probably be like, it feels like Frost moves up, Echemendia moves up, maybe the other Frost moves up because Zerbin graduates, Steve-O graduates, so Christian Castillo comes in. They graduate 97. I mean, there's a bunch of things there. Your boy Connor Uten is back, but some like Isaac Dean was sort of a one-year rental. But if this kid gets eligible, he's a hitter. I mean, obviously, right?
Yeah, I think there's the other thing I think when it comes to kind of a lot of these top heavy teams that are kind of like, this is kind of Iowa State's like push, when they had basically Echemendia injury redshirt, Bastida comes back, they go into the portal, they get like, the Rocky Elam, the four other guys too. So Poulin, Zerbin, Dean, Elam.
Yeah.
Like that's a big push for, potential national title style run. But in the year like that we've had, the transfer portal, like you can create a team pretty quickly with a lot of like, some rentals or some guys that like are just kind of maybe on their way up. Not everything has to be kind of through the draft, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like where you're going out and getting high school kids or whatever. Like there's an ability to make a really good, solid top 10 team with some really good high school talent and then going out and getting kids to transfer in. And Iowa State's probably done the best job probably with international students that we've seen in a while. So like being able to have, like all of those guys, one, come and like learn folk style and then also then to be effective on the national stage with it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see.
You said something really on point, which I hadn't really thought about. Like if you just took the four guys from Iowa State that you mentioned, Poulin, Zerbin, Dean, Rocky, and I think Zerbin's ranked like 6th, give or take. That's 10 points. Rocky's ranked 2nd now because of Barr's back. That's 16 points. Poulin, I think, is ranked on this round of 12. That's 2. And I think Dean's around. That's 29.5 points without bonus. And one of the guys not ranked All-American has All-American. So reasonably, they get 35 points, those guys. That's a top 15 team just those guys.
Yep.
So your point is really well taken. You take and then you add them to Frost, and you add them to Bastida, and you add them to Uten, you add them to MJ Gaitan. You're piecing things together, and it gets really, and Echemendia, and that's how you get to a top 4 team.
Well, and I think once again, while we were just talking, I pulled up the results from last year. And if we're coming in with 39 points, and you have a returning All-American, just one from your roster previously, you're a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Like that's about 45 to 44 points. You're a top 10 program. Now, once again, you also have to be able to go out and get 39 points, which some programs cannot do.
Right.
Financially or whatever, or maybe that's not how their programs are run. But if you were to say go out and get something like that, or if you get somebody like AJ Ferrari, who himself is probably, 20 some odd points himself.
Yeah. Like if he takes second or third, he's 18 points, give or take, and if he wins it, he's 22 points, give or take. So, yeah. And that's the whole thing. Like Mark and I did this conversation when we were doing the pods, but like if you have a champ, you're at least a top 30 team and probably top 25. And if you have 2 champs, you're top 10 team. So it definitely rewards heroes and zeros, or stars and scrubs, or however you want to say it. Like if you're doing like a fantasy football draft strategy, than just having a bunch of round of 12 guys. 41, interesting result, GT. Santaniello from Pitt beat Seth Romney, who is the number 1 seed. And if your people are looking at these hashtag rankings, it's Seth Romney's number 6 nationally. He wasn't number 6 in the tournament. So it's a massive win. The Cortez brothers, by the way, who are wrestling for Spartan Combat, they're doing that gray shirt thing. The Isaiah made the quarters and lost. Elijah made the quarters and beat Billy DeCraker, who's ranked 27. So those are fairly. I mean, the Romney loss to Santaniello is very significant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, top 6 loss off the board. 49. So, I mean, Virginia Tech's got some nice problems here, too. They got Colin Guys in the semis. Noah Ninninger, who's a true freshman, almost made the semis. And then Ethan Miller, who was the transfer, who has been out injured, but was at 57 last year and was undefeated in the regular season, is down to 49. So that's interesting, right?
Yeah, I think the Millers have I'm looking at kind of the brackets as we're chatting. Looks like there's some really good results from both of them at 49-57, kind of as you look at some of the guys that they've wrestled and kind of where they were in the brackets and being able to kind of make their way there. Some, nice close wins, or, just some, just you kind of like see those as a good measuring stick for halfway through the year.
Well, what's interesting to me is I'm looking at Matt Kings at 57, and the only guy they have ranked, Virginia Tech, is Ethan Miller, and Open Mat has him ranked. The other 2 don't have him ranked because he's been inactive. But if you look at these results here, like Noah Ninninger's probably going to redshirt because he was a true freshman. He won Ironman last year. The only reason I know that is because he beat, hopefully because I know some things, but he beat Jeter in the final, so that's why I remember that. But Colin Guy and Miller's like a last year senior. Like this is it. He has to wrestle. So it'll be it, but he's down and they don't have anybody at 57. They have Miller ranked at 57 in Open Mat. So that's something to keep an eye on. Because 49, bro, is a wide open weight.
49 this year gives me kind of that, 125 2 years ago vibe.
The Figueroa year.
Yeah, I think there's so much to be unpacked about that weight class with, some of the things that have kind of gone on with that weight throughout the season already. Just gives such a volatile exchange. And then I guarantee once we get done with the NCAA tournament, we'll be like, oh yeah, no, this totally makes sense. we'll take that approach and be like, oh yeah, and we knew the entire time that he was going to be the best, and it's like, no, not a chance. Like I'm just going to stand on that as far as our prediction capabilities.
I do record. We do have our predictions recorded, so there will be a fact check done.
Well, and like once again, I think my guy might not even make his own team. So
yeah,
but the sad thing about this weight class, I think that's going to be probably one of my predictions is that if whoever kind of wins like 149 or does, that's going to be kind of the team race bubble weight class.
Yeah,
where like you're going to see like the 149 weight class be that determining factor for, Oklahoma State, Ohio State, Nebraska, Iowa, UNI, Iowa State. Like if their 49 pounder does well, they're going to kind of jump those other teams, and it's going to give them like some unaided some points there that if your guy does well at that weight class, that's going to help your team get a trophy.
It's very interesting you say that because Frost is ranked 4th. Styles is ranked 6th, but he just took a loss. Ryder Block is 8th. He wasn't even necessarily the starter at the beginning of the year. Swiderski's down to 15th, and he was, I think I picked him to make the finals after he beat Lachlan McNeil. Lachlan McNeil's way down there for Michigan. Chance Lamer became eligible and lost to Swiderski. I don't know if you saw that because you were overseas, but lost to Swiderski in the duel with Nebraska and Oklahoma State. And so you're right. These are a bunch of guys. Like if you go, hey, Frost plays, like, okay, I could see that. Like, hey, Frost lost round of 12. I could see that. I think same thing Styles, same thing Block, same thing Lamer, same thing Swiderski. So it's a really interesting point there. You're good. You're full of interesting points today, GT. So the trip did you good, man. So 57, Cal Miller, probably the one closest to me is Cal Miller beat Colin Arts. Those are 2 Missouri guys. Park Hill over Hannibal. Not everything super chalky there. Noah Mulvaney advances. Ethan Burton, who's a backup. Ryan Burton, who's another freshman at VTech, man. So you're right. They are loading up talent over there. He's in the Sams. 74. Not anything super crazy here. Sergio DeCianti, another Virginia Tech guy. So they continue to place guys here. 84, again, fairly chalky. Cartina Walsh is having a nice season for Rutgers, so that's probably worth noting. Sowers wins in 97. Shoemate wins. Okay, Jude Correa, I'm telling you right now, GT, this is a guy, and you and I talk off the air that I'm a little more in the weeds on high school because of some of these events I'm involved in. Jude Correa is a cat to look out for. Cornell Robinson has coached a lot of really good wrestlers in his life. He said Jude Correa is the best folk-style wrestler he ever coached in high school. That includes Joe Seeley, Bouzakis, Lilladal. Okay, so he goes, he just pins everybody. Now, the story behind him is he was at heavyweight. Okay, or he was at 215, but he wanted to go heavyweight. And he committed to Michigan. And then Michigan went and got Sahakian. And so he decommitted, and then he committed to Cornell. And then Cornell's talked him into getting down to 97, which has got to really tick Michigan off because, well, if you're going to go 97, you could have came here. So I'm telling you right now, this kid's probably going to place next year, and he actually has a chance for the Most Falls Award. He is absolutely filthy on top with his Cradle series. Heavyweight, nothing too crazy. So I think the main part of this is all these tournaments are a little bit weakened and because of there's 3 of them. And then the one thing you and I haven't talked about on the air, we talked about it with Mark, National Duels is moving to Ironman weekend, which is the second weekend of December. They're doing that to get away from the U20, U23 schedule publicly. I think it's to try to pressure Penn State into coming privately. But what it does is it absolutely screws CKLV. It's the week after CKLV. CKLV has to move to November. Like they should be like, that should be the Super Bowl or like the Daytona 500, like the kickoff. Like make it the first or second weekend of November, 4 or 5 weeks away from national duels. People can have training cycles, periodization, all that stuff. You can enter more true freshmen there. The tournament could actually be bigger because it's, those tournaments count as one event for people that don't understand that. It's not 5 matches. It's not 5 dates. It's 5 events. So you and I were talking about that on the floor at NDI. If you wrestle, like Ronnie Ramirez used 1 of his 5 at that, not 2 of his 5 for 2 days or 3 of his 5 because there was 3 matches. He wrestled, it counted as 1. So I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. You want to talk about the freshmen, or do you want to talk about what we're going to see potentially at Midlands and Scuffle?
Well, I think to your point on the scheduling too, is that like this is the first year where we had the national duels playing a factor in everybody's, I don't know, scheduling or matchups, or being able to get some of those matchups that you probably would only see at the Scuffle, Midlands, CKLV, like out of the way very early, right? So a lot of those matches have kind of already determined some of those seeds and or seen each other where, for instance, like an Iowa versus Missouri might not have happened any other time other than maybe a Midlands or, a Scuffle match. And sometimes they don't even happen, right? So like, once again, in the dual scenario, we ended up getting to see Iowa versus Missouri. We got to see Missouri versus Minnesota. So you have those matchups that like you would have not necessarily seen. And once again, we talked about that a little bit, is that like a lot of the people at the national duels never shied away from those matchups. They wanted to see them early.
Yeah.
So I think as far as a scheduling part of what our conversation would be is the kind of holiday tournament. And once again, this is not me like being like, hey, get off my lawn, I'm really old and back in my day type thing.
That's Mark's job.
Yeah, that's Mark's job. So we can make sure that Mark does that. But the Midlands is still like a historic event, but you can tell that there's not as many teams that have been participating in that particular event as of late.
Yeah.
Same thing with Scuffle. Like Scuffle has had some times where some weight classes are outrageously stacked, and then there's times that maybe some of those weight classes it's not. But I think when we first kind of started the podcast, when we start talking about some of those holiday tournaments or CKLV, is that somebody comes out of those tournaments with like some supreme confidence, either that they've made the finals or they won it. And you're like, oh, all right, well, that guy's kind of on the radar now. It's like, okay, well, that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out for the rest of the season heading into conference, because he is a Midlands champ, or he's a Scuffle champ, or he knocked off somebody he shouldn't have in the quarters or semifinals or finals of CKLV.
Yeah.
But I think putting the national duels in front of all of that, you're going to see a lot more teams maybe not do a lot more of those individual tournaments because they're getting the individual matchups in the dual scenario against the top 10 teams.
I think it kills these Christmas tournaments. I'm just going to say that because it's right before finals. I think then they just give the kids the week of finals off. There's no reason to do it. And listen, no matter what anybody says, money's a big part of this, right? Like you get paid to go to NDI and you don't get paid to go to Midland, Scuffle, or Soldier Salute. And CKLV can move themselves to the front end of the year and be the premier individual tournament again. And I think it's also interesting to note that there are at least a couple duels that got repeated, like Missouri and Illinois, wrestled twice. Like Virginia Tech wrestled Minnesota twice in the same freaking tournament. And then Virginia Tech had to wrestle NC State, and they will wrestle them again. And, I'm sure some other schools would say otherwise, but historically, for the last 5 years, that's been the duel for the ACC regular season title. So I know North Carolina's doing some nice things this year, but I mean, historically, that's been it. So in terms of who's going to be, here's the other thing that was tricky. So like I had Eddie Woody do a pod with me like the day after Christmas, and he had the list of all the teams that were coming, but it's very misleading. Okay, like Iowa State is listed as going to Midlands because Christian Castillo won.
Right.
So that's not wrong, but it's not right. Like, if that makes any sense, like the rest of the crew aren't there. And so the teams that are listed for, we'll go Soldier Salute first because it's easier. It's less teams. Bellarmine, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Navy, North Carolina, North Dakota State, Northern Iowa, South Dakota State, VMI, Wyoming. So a couple matchups that immediately popped to mind for me, 184 would be fire if all those three of those guys wrestle with, and I'm reading it like Ferrari, McAnally, Sinclair. I'm just reading it left to right in terms of the teams. 97 and Dean against Joey Novak would be awesome to see. I mean, you would have Yori Volk against Dean Peterson. Those are at least just some of the ones that pop right off the top to me, GT. And then the other thing is that we're hearing that Gabe Arnold is going to wrestle 174 and try to make the lineup by wrestling Patrick Kennedy. And that's been a very interesting saga. And the other thing is, I should mention on the same day this is, Northern Iowa is at Nebraska. So I would imagine Northern Iowa is sending their non-starters to Soldier Salute. This probably based on geography. So I don't think we're going to see the Ryder Downies of the world at Soldier Salute. So what are your thoughts on Soldier Salute, like matchups you'd really like to see or just anything interesting there?
Well, I think probably the 97 one, I want to see like Mo and Dean in that weight class. I think maybe probably winning that would be a huge kind of push in order to get to the second semester for him. We've kind of seen him, and once not necessarily just to talk about Iowa, I think that just because he's an oddity within the NCAA, that get him into a bracket like that during the holiday season and just see like how those things happen, right? We already kind of saw him in the dual meet format with, some big time stuff already. But I think, Novak would be a great match if that ends up happening, because that's probably one of those matchups where that's like a potential semifinal or a quarterfinal to get to the semifinal style match. 4-5 in the nation, right?
4-5, exactly.
So you could get those matchups at this tournament, which then makes it even better. I'm really excited to see what UNC brings. North Carolina, I believe I saw that they knocked off UNI as in a dual meet. So I'm really excited to see what kind of Robb Cole company bring to this tournament. And then I think also, what is it?
84 is going to be fire, right?
84 is going to be really good. I do want to see the drama play out at 74 just to see like how that all shakes out.
Yeah.
And I also want to see, and this is once again not necessarily another Iowa thing, but I want to see what like Ryder Block does in a tournament style format, because once again, it's his first kind of time to be like the guy for Iowa right now. But there's going to be some guys at that weight class that, you're going to have to make sure that you either like slam the door on a little bit more or, rise to the occasion. Right. So at 49, you're going to get some of that kind of volatility again. But if you can solidify yourself as like, hey, like go into that tournament, I do really, really well. And as he probably should, I think that's what I want to see, is that those guys that are the clear-cut number ones within those weight classes, like kind of dominate the field until they get to the finals and then have an epic match.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I'm going to jump to 49 to support what you're talking about, but just North Carolina has Tyson Terrakina ranked, Ethan Oakley ranked, Luke Simcox, Bryce Hepner, Jake Daly, Robert Platt, and Nolan Neebe. So they have 7 of the 10 guys ranked. I mean, they're not ranked podium ranked, but they are ranked. 49 is Penn. Let me see if Penn is going. No, they're not going. Okay. So I'm trying to look just sort of quickly at who Ryder Block would hit. SIU's not there. So it'll be interesting to see who he hits. And the other thing that's tricky, like you mentioned this, but like, for example, when I get to Scuffle, which I will now, and I'll mention this up front, like Virginia Tech is listed at the Scuffle. Well, I don't think these dudes are wrestling Midlands and then they're going to go wrestle at Scuffle 4 days later. So like, I think the guys you're seeing here, you're not going to see there. And then maybe like Jimmy Mullen and some of the, like maybe even Tresca or those kind of guys. I mean, they obviously have a split squad, but here are the teams for Scuffle: American, App State, Army, Bellarmine. Again, Bellarmine's double dipping. Brown, Campbell, Chat, Clarion, Cornell, Davidson, Duke, Little Rock, Maryland, Michigan State, Morgan State, North Dakota State's double dipping, Northern Colorado, Oklahoma State, although we're hearing it's just going to be their backups, and Presbyterian, Citadel, Utah Valley, UVA, VTech. So I think it'd be a whole podcast to talk about who's going to hit here that are super highly ranked guys. But I mean, most of these teams have maybe one or two guys ranked nationally, with the exception of like Virginia Tech, Cornell. To me, one of the more interesting storylines would be to see how does Meyer Shapiro look, Grant, coming off of a really good match with Cannon Webster, which I'm sure you didn't see. It was 2-1, unbelievable scrambles. He pulled out the win, but, ring rust is a real thing. And, he was able to, I mean, that's a tough first day back. Welcome to Cannon Webster, who would just as soon put you in a phone booth and see who can snap each other's head harder for 7 minutes. Like, that's not the soft opening you'd like to have, to use a nightclub analogy. So I'm interested to see how he does in a 2-day event, 4 or 5 matches. And then, I mean, Jackson Joy's been an absolute discovery this year. I mean, he loses at the Clarion Open to Bassett. So everybody's like, well, he lost to a high school kid, and he got majored, I think. And then he boat raced everybody. He screwed up our bet at CKLV, our Frost Larkin bet. He absolutely disrupted that. So those are two guys, and I guess I'm unintentionally being Cornell centric there, but I'm very interested to see 49 and 57.
Well, those guys kind of deserve, to have conversations about them, because, I mean, talk about a guy that has already been proven in Meyer, but concussions, ring rust, like you just don't know what you're going to see this year. And then Jackson Joy, of course, like coming onto the scene with some electricity and wrestling really well.
He's terrifying on top, bro. He's just terrifying on top. So I think, so let's talk about the year of the freshmen. Let me pull this up here. I think this is very interesting. Okay, so we got Matt King's pulled up, if you guys can see it, and not every weight is going to have a bunch of freshmen ranked high. 25 oddly does not, but then it gets fun at 33. So you have Ben Davino, Marcus Blaze, Kyler Larkin, and from everything we're hearing, Jax Forrest and Dylan Campbell. So right now it's 1, 2, 4 of the top 9, and Jax immediately, once he starts wrestling guys, will be in the top 9. So 5 of the top 10 would be freshmen. Blaze is a true freshman. Davino's a redshirt freshman. Larkin's a redshirt freshman. Dylan Campbell's a redshirt freshman, but still freshman. But if you're talking about true freshmen, Blaze and Jax. And I will say this, I picked Blaze and Jax to make the finals against each other in the preseason. I feel okay about that. So,
well, I mean, I think some of that stuff, like depending upon you add in Jax Forrest into that mix right there. And as you guys can kind of see, how that all plays out. Forrest will only be able to see probably Ayala, Frost.
I'm going to pull up the wrestling schedule for you, Oklahoma State's schedule.
I mean, I know that they probably will see Frost in the Big 12s. You'll see Iowa in the dual. You're probably not going to see – you'll probably see Kyler Larkin in the Big 12s, Big 12 championships.
Here's who they duel. Just OU, Mizzou, Utah Valley, Northern Iowa, Iowa State, Little Rock, VTech, Iowa. So they don't hit Arizona State. And this is a very interesting juggling scenario that David Taylor has on his hands because Ronnie Ramirez has a few dates to get to 5 and then Jax. Go ahead. I apologize for interrupting you.
No. All good. But I think what I was maybe trying to allude to is that, like, let's say Jax goes undefeated through his, Big 12 schedule and the remaining schedule where he gets Dylan Campbell, Tyler Larkin, Drake Ayala, Evan Frost. And then he ends up the year, whatever it's called, 12-0 or whatever it is.
Sure.
Bird and Davino, they could either split or Bird beats them both times or Davino beats them both times, or all of a sudden it's like, well, probably Jax has a opportunity to be undefeated and beaten 4 out of the top 10. He very well could end up being a number 1 seeded wrestler with only wrestling half the season based off of those results alone.
Yes. I think the Big 10 winner, it's going to be insane, right? Like, I have not looked up who Illinois duels, who Ohio State duels, who Penn State duels, but I do know Ohio State duels Penn State. I do know that. That's the January 30th weekend because I'm at a high school tournament that your boy is in town for, and we're going to make sure we got a big screen set up for us to watch that on that Friday night. So, but yeah, I mean, like, if you sort it out by conference and you just go, okay, Illinois, Ohio State, Penn State, 1, 2, and 5 are in conference, and Ayala, 1, 2, 4, and 5 are in the Big 10, and then Frost, Larkin, and Jax are in the other one. It's going to be crazy. And normally you go, okay, well, maybe a guy can sneak in from the other conference. Well, Tyler Knox got tech pinned by Blaze. So, I mean, Dylan Campbell would be the only guy that could sneak in there. But that top 8 is going to be super heavy, Big 10, Big 12. But anyway, do you think 0, 1, or 2 freshmen make the finals at 33?
Well, I never want to count out Lucas Bird, who's probably in his 11th year of eligibility. It seems
he's a provost. He leaves this year as a provost of the university.
I'm pretty sure that if Marcus Blaze was in a freshman class, Lucas Bird was probably teaching the course. if they're at the same university.
Gen Psych. That's exactly right.
So I think until somebody knocks off Bird, I'm just going to roll with the king. I mean, once again, I think that's great. I think this freshman era of people coming through is bananas.
Yes.
I think and once again, I think at the lighter weight classes, it's crazy to think that like you're going to see them for the next 3 years after that, right? So you're going to see Davino, you're going to see Blaze, you're going to see Larkin, you're going to see Forrest, you're going to see Campbell, and then add in next year's crop of kids that are just that talented too. So until somebody knocks off Lucas Bird, I'm going to kind of roll with him. But I could see one of those six other freshmen making it, or I could see the 2 seniors battling it out again in the finals with Ayala Bird. I could see that happening as well, depending upon how the bracket's set up. But, once again, it's one of those things that you roll with the guy that's been dominant, has proven himself time and time and time again over all of those situations.
I'm going to pick one, and I'm going to also point something out here. It would take a little doing, but Bird Ayala could be a quarterfinal matchup.
Yeah.
It could be a 1-8 or a 2-7. So, yeah. And you're talking about good kids coming in next year. Anthony Knox is decommitted from Cornell. I think that's why you were gone. And I think he ends up at Ohio State. And then I think he goes 25. They move Davino to 30. I'm sorry, they move Buzakis to 33 and Davino to 41. And, Jesse Mendez stays on as a, RTC athlete, whatever. But anyway, so there's something to look at there. But I think people should keep an eye on that. Okay, 41. Freshman. Sergio Vega, my friend.
I did, however, see while I was gone that Vega pinned Hardy?
Yeah, so Mark and I had a very interesting conversation about this. I said ahead of time, Hardy should do nothing, that he should just not, and I don't mean nothing, but don't be shooting, keep him off your legs fundamentally, baseline defense, try to ride him when he picks down, pick neutral, and try to sneak one late. And the opposite happened. He got packed in the first period. And Mark's argument, which is probably the better argument, results doesn't mean the argument is wrong, is no, you do what you do best. He's one of the best scramblers in college. But I have a buddy of mine who's very close to that program with one of the kids on the team, and they said Vega is so tricky at he'll get you comfortable where you think you're good in the position he actually wants to be at. Right now, I feel like the only two guys that beat Vega are Mendez, who I pick. If you're going to pick Luke, if we're going to ride with Lucas Bird, we're going to ride with Jesse Mendez, in my opinion. And then Echemendia, which is interesting because they will most likely hit in the Big 12 finals. I'm guessing they duel as well. Did we say they duel Iowa State?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do Iowa State on Feb 1. So between February 1 and March 20th, give or take, they could wrestle 3 times.
Good heavens.
I would think the familiarity would help Echemendia. I mean, but again, Brock Hardy was familiar and it didn't help him. So do we pick Vega as a freshman finalist?
I think Sergio Vega, the way that he's been wrestling, he's proven himself to be pretty much a lock at the number 2 seed. Now, once again,
yeah,
I think Anthony Echemendia poses a different style of wrestling.
That's right.
And I think also, because I think he goes big, he goes to the body, he's good on his feet. I could see Echemendia not choosing down against
He will not
Vega.
pick down. He will not pick down.
I mean, you don't want to pick down. I don't think that there's ever a situation where you would want to maybe put Anthony underneath unless you feel very confident that that kid has nothing on top. So I think when we talk about strategy, I don't think that there's a single part of their coaching strategy that puts Anthony underneath a ton, especially against somebody that's that good on top.
I don't see a scenario because his worst position is bottom and Vega is elite on top. So yeah. I think it's fascinating. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, these are, and I think that once again, I know that we talk about a lot of rankings, and I know we talk about kind of positionings, and we talk about kind of scoring when it comes to these rankings, how people are strategically placed within the country. How does it work for the team title and whatnot? But I think for Sergio Vega and kind of the Oklahoma State younger crew, it shows that those kids that are coming into that program currently right now are having a lot of success. Because if they have Jax Forrest, who's a freshman, Vega's a freshman, they got Ronnie Ramirez that is in that mix, and they got other guys that are going to be coming in the next couple of years.
Well, they also got Babadoo and Lockett, who are freshmen.
Right. So you got all of these guys that are having tremendous success early. I want to make sure that there's not that, 3 to 4 year fatigue that happens in some cases where you get into the collegiate style of wrestling where they come out and they're gangbusters year 1 and then, trickle down. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but it's going to be interesting to watch seeing 4 of those guys ranked in the top 2.
Yeah, I think 3 because Robidoux dropped, but yeah, for sure.
But yeah, you're in that same category, right? 2,
no,
3.
he was ranked 2 till he lost to Antrell in overtime. So you're absolutely right. Yeah. So 49 is an interesting weight, GT. You have Freshmen ranked. They have Larkin as a sophomore, but that's he lost a year medically. He will get that back. So this is his first year. And then Aiden Valencia is a freshman too. So, I mean, I am all aboard the Caleb Larkin hype train. I know he got folded up by Jackson Joy, but I would pick one of these 2 guys to make the finals alongside Van Ness. And listen, Van Ness is very good. But where he struggled last year was on bottom against Ridge Lovett. He got rode and he got turned. I'm not sure I don't pick Jackson Joy to win that match.
They don't see each other until the NCAA tournament, correct?
Correct. I'm just going to say that because Penn State doesn't wrestle non-conference second semester.
So as we're talking about this particular weight class, I would like to bring up the Penn State, whatever it is, postseason NCAA tournament, statistical data. That if like they make it to the semifinals or if they make it to the finals, they're like a 90% lock to win those matches or something crazy. I don't know what to do. I would have to like confer the wrestling gods,
or Jason Bryant, or Kyle
Bryant,
Klingman.
Earl,
Kyle
really,
Klingman. Yeah,
Kyle Klingman, Andy Hamilton, Christian Piles, like all these guys that like have, the sorcery to understand like what that statistical breakdown is. But if you get Shane Van Ness, Jackson Joy, NCAA finals, just based off the laundry and the jersey itself, like you're kind of leaning towards Penn State in general. But if you look at that kind of style of wrestling between the 2, I could also see Shane Van Ness not going underneath Jackson Joy too.
I could also see Jackson Joy choosing top.
Once again, that's the tactical kind of theory that we can talk about if that match were to occur. But I don't know how this match goes, but if you put it in the national finals, everything is a lot tighter.
Yeah.
So like it could be just one takedown could be the determining factor in that entire match.
I also think Caleb Larkin's really hard to take down, period, and especially if you're not super tall like Jackson Joy. So I think he's another guy that could make the finals. We'll call him a sophomore, I guess, but he's really a freshman. Okay, 57. PJ Duke is a freshman. Landon Robidoux is a freshman. So I think those guys, I picked PJ Duke to win the weight when the year started. I'm not leaving. I'm not backing off of that.
I think I picked Penn State because I didn't know if Chasak or
we did that right collectively.
Or PJ Duke, but we just kind of think we took whoever it was going to be at that weight class, knowing that both of them could be potentially the starter.
That's right. I'm looking at our picks. That is correct. You and I both had Penn State and Antrell
in the finals, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mark had Penn State and Shapiro. So, I mean, those are both good picks. Antrell's kind of bouncing back. Vinny Z's had a great year. Brandon Cannon's had a great year. Waters had a great year. I think PJ Duke makes the finals. I think Robidoux's, it's going to be interesting because he'll wrestle Zurban in the duel. He'll wrestle West Virginia in the Big 12. So he's going to see 2 of the guys above him so he can work his way up. And then the other 3 guys are Big 10. So with Cannon and with, Shapiro's Ivy. It's not even EIWA now. But Duke and Antrell and Cannon are all there. So I got one in the finals there. What do you got?
Yeah, I think PJ makes the finals.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why they have D. Lockett listed as a junior here, but we know he is a true freshman. So this is 65. D. Lockett and Arujau. I love Arujau. I love Will Denny. I don't think they make the finals. I think D. Lockett's in a coin flip match in the semis with Caliendo or Blaze. There is a path for Lockett, by the way, to be the number 1 seed. I mean, Messenbrink would have to lose the Big Tens, but if Caliendo were to win the Big Tens, Lockett's the 1 seed if he wins out because he has head-to-head. Although they duel again, there's a lot left to be done here, but I have Lockett like 50-50 making the finals. In the preseason, all 3 of us picked Messenbrink and Caliendo, just so people know. You got him? You gonna stand firmly on the fence with me, or are you gonna pick a side?
No, I think Caliendo is going to make the finals again. I don't think D. Lockett makes the finals. That's not because I don't think that he's capable of it. Right. I'm just going to stand on the fact that, like, Caliendo, I think he's only going to get better as the season kind of keeps progressing, barring injury or anything like that. I just think that Caliendo has so much like dominance in him. I just think that as the year progresses, I think he's going to look better and better and better.
I also think the entire country, including us, is sleeping on Joey Blaze.
I agree. I think that it's a problem that Joey Blaze is, well, like, you're going to start to see a lot more of his results come Big Ten time. So you're going to start to see him wrestle off or beat some of those guys or be in the duels with those guys here shortly.
Yeah, I'm pulling up Purdue's wrestling schedule quickly here. Okay. Always fun when they ask you for the cookies. So, all right. January, they wrestled Drexel, Ryder. They wrestled Nebraska. So you'll see Arujau. They wrestle Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan State, Wisconsin. Holy cow. Illinois, so Scholes. And then they see Iowa. So potentially he only sees Caliendo. I mean, potentially sees none of them.
Well, he'll wrestle Caliendo, Arujau, and Scholes, correct?
Yeah, but no Messenbrink.
Yeah, up until the
tournament.
Big Ten tournament time.
That's right. Anyway, so that's interesting. 74. There's no superstar freshman in there. 84. Aiden Sinclair and Angelo Ferrari. Now, these are redshirt freshmen. They don't feel like freshmen because they got their dates in, but they're freshmen. Do we see both of the? And by the way, I'm the only guy in America that think Rocco Welsh should be ranked number 1.
Yeah, that's based off of you and Mark's
methodology.
Yeah.
He does not agree with me, but I agree with myself. Anyway, which is what I should do.
Correct.
All right. Ferrari, Sinclair, one of them, both of them, neither of them?
I think one of them. I think that there's just so much more talent in this field. I think that there's a lot of guys that can have a great tournament too, that just comes through the woodwork. I think, and just to throw in here again, Zach Ryder, who we all kind of know that he has a ton of potential.
And Brock Mantanona.
Yeah. But I think the guys that I'm looking to probably fill that spot to make not necessarily another freshman get in there, McAnally, Welsh.
Yeah.
I think Silas Allred as a senior, he's tricky. Like, he's kind of not had a great national tournament runs before, but, he beat Zach Ryder. He's done pretty well. Brian Saldano, previously with I think it was Rutgers, now with OU, being a part of kind of the Big 12, he could be a, Big 12 runner-up or third place, depending upon how that whole thing.
He can win the Big 12.
He's right there, right? So,
I mean, it's him and Oklahoma. It's him and Ryder.
Well, and Aiden Sinclair.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yes, you're 100%. Sorry, you're 100%.
But it's one of those things that you just kind of I just think that there's enough of the field, the non-freshman field, to not necessarily have a freshman final. Now, once again, we also see Ian Sinclair beat McAnally.
Right.
But we also like Rocco Welsh hasn't wrestled any of them yet.
That's right.
So we'll see how all that stuff plays out. But I think that there's a lot to be said there. But I think one of the two potentially.
Yeah. Something else to keep an eye on here very quickly, because I think we're about done with freshmen. But James Conway, if he runs the table, is going to get a very high seed, GT.
Yeah.
He will have winning percentage over everybody, and he will have conference champion over everybody but Sinclair and then the winner of the Big Ten. So he could potentially get the 3 seed. I don't see him getting worse than the 4 or 5. And I mean, if he's the 4 or the 3, he is breaking up what most of us feel like is tier 1. So it changes things. Now, if he's the 4 and then theoretically Rocco Welsh is the 5, it doesn't change much. But if he's the 3, and if these were the rankings and McAnally pushes to 4 and Welsh pushes to 5, then McAnally Welsh becomes a quarter instead of a semi. Okay. There's no superstar freshman killing it. The highest one is Cody Merrill. I'd have a hard time seeing Cody Merrill beat Barr, Elam. I think Josh Barr and Elam, if they're healthy, are the finals. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then heavyweight, and this is the hardest weight. I mean, Coy Hopke's having a great season as a freshman in Mirasola, but I kind of find it hard to believe anybody's going to break up the Bastida, Trumbull, Feldman, Ferrari top 4. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. That about does it for us. I will say Happy New Year to everybody. This has been a very interesting year. You and I were talking offline about some of the things that we've been able to pull off this year, and been blessed that some things have gone the right way. So, very, very proud of that. And have some big things planned in 2026. You and I were talking about that as well. So I guess want to just humbly thank everybody that's made this year great. Lot of love, a lot of support in my life. And one of the coolest things, GT, was Mom and Dad came out to Jersey. And my dad's doing the lean-in thing, watching, talking to me about technique and strategy. And that's I can only do that for about 9 hours a day before I'd get tired of it. So it was a blessing having them both there. So anybody you want to, I know it's been a mixed bag for you this year for sure. But anybody you want to say Happy New Year to, or thank you to, before we sign off?
Oh, just, looking forward to closeout of 2025, looking forward to what 2026 has to offer. As everybody, kind of has the end of the year, it's a great time for, kind of reflection and family and being able to spend time with those that you love and cherish and all those type of situations. So it's a beauty that wrestling kind of bridges both years. So you get a little bit of a closeout of like, it's not just always in the fall. Like you get a chance to like have a holiday that kind of separates the middle of the season. So you get to like have a little bit that you can put in the past, and you can also look forward to the end of the year. Once again, love having, the ability to talk wrestling every year. Looking forward to what 2026 has to offer for the wrestling community. Really, really great year for, like USA Wrestling and the collegiate side of wrestling, which we both cover. So just looking forward to what 2026 has to offer for all of us. And Happy New Year to everybody.
I think we both want to publicly thank Mark, and I want to publicly thank you and Matt and Shane and Eddie for no matter how crazy my ideas are, you're like, okay, let's figure out a way to make it work. So that is very meaningful. So thank you sincerely. All right. For the much better looking and much younger Grant Turner, I'm David Mirikitani. Happy New Year. We will see you guys all in 2026.